The Strait of Hormuz, located between Oman and Iran, connects the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. The strait is the world's most important energy choke point because of the large volumes of oil and gas that flow through that strait. A third of the world's liquefied natural gas and about 21% of global oil consumption passes through that strait daily. Alternative routes could involve a possible pipeline. Tensions between the United States and Iran have risen for months, and the conflict deepened after attacks on several tankers in the Gulf of Oman that the U.S. blamed on Tehran. Tensions began to escalate after the Trump administration pulled out of the 2015 nuclear deal, citing it was defective at its core. Joining us now to break this down is journalist and author Dan Lazare. Dan, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Let's dig right in. Now, with these rising tensions between Iran and Western governments, are there really any options for bypassing the Strait of Hormuz? And what are those political implications of the alternatives for oil exporting countries?
I don't think there are any practical alternatives. I mean, there's always been talk of building a pipeline that would bypass the strait and empty out in the Gulf of Oman. But the problem is that Saudi Arabia, the most important single oil producer, does not have border on the Gulf of Oman. Its only opening is in the Persian Gulf. So it would not be helped by a pipeline. In fact, it would be at the mercy of its neighbors, either Oman itself or the United Arab Emirates. So it's difficult to get around these choke points. There are a number of choke points around the world, and they've always been sources of war and tension. The best way to get around the choke point is by somehow de-emphasizing, using less of the commodity that passes through it.
Well, is it even possible to build a pipeline? I know you said possibly not, but with the military and these other countries in the way, is it out of the question?
No, it's not. It's just totally possible. Politically, it's not very likely. I mean, it would pass from a Saudi point of view. It would pass through foreign territory, and therefore would be at the mercy of whatever foreign country that is, either the UAE or Oman. So that's why it probably won't happen. In the 1940s, there was a pipeline that went in the opposite direction to the Mediterranean via Lebanon. But it was closed down when supertankers came online, and the Saudis found it was cheaper to ship their oil that way. But not everybody is unhappy with the choke point. The U.S. likes the choke point quite well because it gives it control over the Persian Gulf, and the Saudis like it quite well for the same reason.
Well, it's convenient for them. But I want to get into some numbers here. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, only Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have pipelines that can ship crude oil outside the Persian Gulf, like you said, and have the additional pipeline capacity to circumvent the Strait of Hormuz. Now, there are already nearly 4 million barrels a day that could bypass the strait. Are there other plans?
I'm not aware of any plans in existence, no. Because a lot of important powers oppose those plans. First and foremost, the U.S.
Well, and that makes it interesting because of these daily passage of oil through the strait, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, they're estimating that 76% of that crude oil went to Asian markets in 2018. What can you tell us about China's oil and their gas pipeline construction, especially under its One Belt, One Road foreign trade and some of their policy goals and how they fit in here?
Well, China would undoubtedly be very happy with a pipeline that bypassed the Strait of Hormuz. But the U.S. would not be happy with it because the U.S. wants to control the Gulf and therefore control the world's oil supply. Even though the U.S. actually draws very little oil from the Persian Gulf nowadays, thanks to the fracking revolution. But the U.S. wants control, and therefore it does not want the alternative that would be preferred by countries like China or India.
Well, and the U.S. alone has been producing more oil in just the recent year alone, so we could see why they will be affected. But hopefully that doesn't lead to any military action or escalation between Iran and the United States, with all these oil tankers being caught in the middle of these waters. Thank you so much, Dan Lazare, for your time and expertise.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.